What is going on, Crisis Actors? It is episode 1040 of Pop Culture Crisis. It's a Friday. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic afternoon. I am here with my co-host who was just singing right before we went live. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, guys. Yeah, Diary of Jane was stuck in my head. Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. Happy Friday. Remember who you are, white boy, etc. We have a $20 super chat to start off with from Shane H. Wilder. Happy Friday, Brett and Mary. Tonight, I'll attend a Golden Jubilee with a mass, then a party for Monsignor Bill Brooks, celebrating 50 years as a priest. I'll have a write-up on him for Sunday. Please offer up a prayer for him today. Of course. That sounds like fun.
Yes, indeedy. All right.
Got any plans for the weekend, Brett?
Oh, yes, because today is Olivia's birthday, so we're going out to dinner tonight, and then tomorrow she's of two minds about what she wants to do for, like, Saturday's really the day that you do something for the birthday, because we're at work today. So we're either going to go to, like, one of the bigger malls, which we used to do more of, but we haven't a lot lately, but it's nice. You can kind of travel in this area, the Maryland, DC, Virginia area and find some decent malls. And if we don't do that, we will go to the Utz factory, that's my personal favorite.
I'm hoping for the latter.
Well, the thing is, if it's raining, we'll probably go to the mall because it might rain.
Factory outdoors?
No, but like usually that means we're going to go to that and a bunch of other stores, which means we'll be going in and out a bunch. So I think we would end up, I love the Utz factory. I love that drive. But
we're taking the scenic route.
It's her birthday, so she will be the one in charge of plan. I mean, she's usually in charge of wanting to do the plans anyways, because I'm like, I never want to go do anything. She always wants to go do stuff. So we're probably going to do that.
Happy birthday, Olivia.
Well, I do see some super chats about that. We will get to that, but I think she is in the chat. Yep, I see her. She is in the chat. So everybody wish Olivia a happy birthday.
When you go out to eat, are you going to get the waitstaff to sing to her?
I told her that's a divorceable offense for me. I said, if that's
not you.
I know.
Would you be okay with that? Or is that something you're on the same page with, like, no singing?
I imagine she doesn't want that either, but probably not as bad as me. But yeah, that's not it. Plus, I would have to be there while that was happening.
I'm such a Leo that I want them to sing to me.
That's horrible. No, we're not doing that. We are not doing that here, ladies and gentlemen. So again, as we were saying, happy birthday, Olivia. And she will be back on the show on Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. So stay tuned for that one. Also, what you guys should do is hit the like button on this episode and subscribe to the channel. If you are new here and you have not subscribed here yet already, please and thank you. Remember to share the episodes out with your friends, your family, your loved ones, people in your life that you both love, and the people in your life that you don't like either at all, and you can talk about it down in the comments section together. We would appreciate it. So what are we getting into today? We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. We are going to talk about Clavicular, who has been banned on YouTube, and we are going to get into, because it's more than one channel. And the reasoning is, it's not perhaps the reasoning that you would expect. It kind of looked like more of the same reasoning that they gave when Alex Jones tried to relaunch a channel last year. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Elizabeth Banks, who, after the failure of Charlie's Angels and then the success of Cocaine Bear, is doing what she does best, which is to whine about gender issues in interviews, talking about how one day... Okay, we'll get into it during the topic, but there is a cottage industry for people who on social media have the thing where they're like, my teacher told me I was never going to be a famous musician, and now I'm a famous musician. My best friend told me I wouldn't succeed. Here I am succeeding. Well, apparently...
Or like those posts that are like, everyone said that I couldn't wear jeans because I'm a brunette.
Exactly. So apparently somebody in Hollywood told Elizabeth Banks that she couldn't direct men because men wouldn't listen to her, which is, of course, absurd, as if, like, literally she was supposed to be the first female director in history, like, just after Hollywood segregation was repealed, and she was breaking new ground as a female director. This is not true. It's BS. And if it did happen, the person was probably just trying to give her some advice. I'm being a bit of a dick here, but the point is she's saying that she was never going to be able to direct men because they wouldn't listen to her. But then Ray Liotta did listen to her. So apparently it was all uphill from there. We'll get into it. It's a whole thing. We're also going to talk a little bit about how she has walked back over the last 5 years plus, what she was saying when they were marketing Charlie's Angels, which really is kind of like a formative time in my life because I was listening to a lot of YouTube in 2019. So following that whole story, it's like a blast from the past. So we'll talk about Elizabeth Banks. We're also going to talk about a social media content creator named MJ Gray, who decided to tell women everywhere that what they shouldn't do is get married. Well, that realization must have really hit hard for her followers when they found out that she is in fact getting married. Do as I say, not as I do. So we're going to talk about that.
Marriage for me, but not for thee.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the mad lad TikTokers who are speed running Scientology. If you want to know what that means, stay tuned. We'll get into it. If you are ready, we can go. Are you ready?
I think I'm ready.
Let's go for it then. Let's talk about Clavicular.
Yeah, the latest going on in Clavicular's world is that both of his channels on YouTube got terminated. He posted about this yesterday, claiming that there was no explanation for the ban, but Variety seems to have quotes to the contrary from a spokesperson for YouTube. But here was his post. Very sad news this morning. My YouTube channels at Live with Clav and at Clav Looks Max were terminated this morning with no warning or explanation. The channels consisted of live stream VODs and free courses created by me to help empower young men to be the best versions of themselves. And me and my team worked hard to ensure we followed YouTube's TOS very strictly, blurring out all inappropriate language and sensitive topics. Could you please help in recovering my accounts? And then he tagged Team YouTube, YouTube creators, and YouTube. They did not publicly respond. They instead spoke to Variety and clarified that this is nothing new. They already terminated his original YouTube channel last year in November. And they said that on the grounds of him creating new accounts, those were removed as well. We removed these additional channels under our terms of service, which prohibit creating new channels after a termination. So you were right to compare it to the Alex Jones situation where, they spuriously promised a chance at recovering banned channels last year. And then as soon as people tried to join the platform again after being banned, including Alex Jones, they banned those channels as well. And clarified it's actually this really involved process where you have to apply in this pilot program, and we will individually review whether you are a specific case that is worthy of re-examining. But they allegedly removed his channel in November last year for a totally different reason, which was, according to them, they prohibit creators from, what was it? They violated the platform's illegal or regulated goods or services policies.
So basically, was it like that he was funneling people to his courses or something like that?
I don't even know if it was, they didn't clarify really. I don't know if it was his funneling people to courses, or was it because he promotes the use of, unregulated or recreational substances like anabolic steroids, TRT, methamphetamines that he admits to using for appetite suppression. I don't know if he outwardly promotes that or maybe hints at that's one of the tips that he offers to young men. And, I really expected a lot of the responses to be more sympathetic to Clavicular, because why take the side of the big tech platform instead of the creator, regardless of who it is? That goes for most cases. But actually, most of the replies that I saw were like celebrating the fact that he got his channels banned. And I think that's really strange.
I mean, as long as he wasn't talking about like hitting yourself in the face with a hammer and doing drugs, like it's
questionable.
Yeah, I don't see that as the type of thing that feels like a bannable offense to me. I understand the dislike for his overall message. 110%. But when we're talking about, like, it's supposed to be content specific, right? This was one of the problems that people were getting back into, in the early days of this side of the influencer culture, or even like with what was going on in comics. Like, people were getting banned on Kickstarter for content that was said on other platforms, and vice versa, right? Like, your off-platform use was getting you banned on a specific platform, and I don't think that that's necessarily fair.
People are celebrating his ban because they're questioning whether he actually promotes self-improvement.
Yeah.
But that's not really a valid reason to aim for someone to get censored. And I bet that him getting his channels taken down is not going to do him any favors on a personal level, since he's already seemingly spiraling mentally and physically following this overdose scandal. And seemingly with no signs of stopping or turning around from that anytime soon. There was this clip I saw this morning from one of his streams where he's out at a club like usual, dancing with some girl. It says Clavicular was visibly sober, ? While partying with his new Stacy girlfriend for the first time since the incident. I'm assuming
is that supposed to say like his dancing is
sort of joke.
His or is it that his dancing is bad, therefore he must be sober?
It's like, are they saying he's visibly sober because he's acting like very autistically, so he's not using drugs to suppress his autistic tendencies? And that's...
It does look like...
I don't know.
It does look like the music is having an effect on him, and he's like trying to cope with it.
He's high on the music. It's
like he's like going through sensory overload, and he's compensating to deal with the sensory overload.
He's giving her shaken baby syndrome.
Yeah,
this is not dancing, bro. So he has two choices. You can either seem sober while being high, or you can seem high while being sober.
Yes.
Because apparently you're neurodivergent.
Oh yeah.
So.
Top comment says, bro is clearly overstimulating and using the
void as a stim device to self-soothe.
That's not
like
good.
He's
Don't
some sort of like autistic like squeezy toy.
Don't
like
do that.
Greta Thunberg octopus.
We
toy
need to
that
get him a fidget spinner instead. Stop
Someone
using the humans as stim devices.
Someone commented, if that's him sober, he needs to go back to drugs. And that's Clavicular's own line of reasoning. He said, like, I can't IRL stream anymore without doing drugs, so I'm not going to do that. But here he is IRL streaming. So I don't know why he even said that he was going to walk away from IRL streaming when he went back to it like 2 days later.
I mean, it was more like he was... The thing is, it gets caught in... It gets, like, clipped, right, and put into headlines, which makes it feel like he made it as a definitive statement. But when we watched that clip, it felt more like he was kind of just stream of conscience talking to himself. And he wasn't making a statement as some type of emphatic, this is what's going to be true from now on. It was more like he was talking to his own brain, and it got clipped and then turned into headlines.
I guess I just don't understand the visceral hatred that people have for this guy, because he's clearly not... I'm not trying to absolve him of accountability, because obviously children are watching his content, and that is worrying, to say the least. But he is also a victim of circumstance himself. He grew up this way. He grew up the same way that his own fans are growing up online. So it doesn't seem to me like he's really even aware of the consequences yet. He's 20 years old. What 20-year-old out there like would make a better decision than him? And people are also saying this is a double standard by YouTube's TOS enforcement. They're talking about, you know, why is Clav getting banned when James Charles is allowed to stay on the platform and he's been exposed for, you know, texting / allegedly grooming minors. And they're claiming that in order to say, like, it's the Matrix suppressing this guy who's trying to empower men. I don't think he's trying to empower men. That's kind of a bold claim.
It's a bit of a reach.
He also, you know, clearly is not doing well himself. He overdosed last week and is acting like nothing happened. He's in severe denial at the very least. Some of the responses said, your content is toxic and cancer to society. And besides rampant drug use, I've seen clips that are basically corn.
Yeah.
One recent clip with
Microphone cut out there. Like, the thing about it is one of the things that I see for most of the clips for things like this now is like people take the likes of the Claviculars or really anything going on right now that involves somebody in the media space, and they're talking about it as if they're, you know, they're all a cancer to society. And I understand, you know, even in the position that I am in here, I understand that impulse, especially if you spend a lot of time on X or you spend a lot of time on social media. Like, you just want to write all of it off, and I absolutely get that. And he's kind of lumped in there with just a specific subset of IRL streamers that people are getting really, you know, it's also the influencers who went to Coachella. It's the political influencers talking about whatever their pet issue of the day is. A lot of people online are just sick of influencers telling them stuff.
Yeah, it just seems like he kind of does get more harsh criticism than the rest of them, who may even deserve the criticism more.
I mean, that's just a matter of current level of fame. Meaning, like, you mentioned James Charles, but James Charles is like past the prime of his popularity. Clavicular is on an ascent, whereas a lot of those other people are either stalled out or on a descent. So they're not as relevant to the culture as he is, even if it may not be to the same level of being a different level of being problematic.
Strangely enough, this reminds me of the discourse around Eugenia Cooney, who, by the way, is still active and permitted on YouTube. She still has her channel and still gets tons of views from children, fetishists, freaks. I mean, her YouTube channel is a freak show. That's what it is. She knows that. And there have been some pretty heated debates about whether she deserves to keep her platform, because she is, in either a direct or indirect way, promoting self-harm and is actively, like, on death's door in front of an audience of millions of people. People are saying the same thing about Clavicular, but he seems to get a lot less sympathy than Eugenia Cooney does. Yeah. Despite being in a similar self-destructive cycle.
All right.
What would you say about that? Do you think that Eugenia should be taken off the platform? Because that was my take, actually.
Yeah. I mean, the Eugenia Cooney one, almost not even as much about the harm that she may cause other people, which is like, that's a matter of personal responsibility, but it's harming her. And at the rate she's harming herself, it feels even worse than what Clavicular is doing. Like, as dumb as the decisions that he's making are about what he's putting in his body and the things that he's doing, a lot of that is like, you do dumb stuff in your 20s. Just not everybody necessarily has the platform to promote it to everybody else. But the Eugenia Cooney stuff to me is way more terrifying than the Clavicular stuff, just because his, at least, like, it looks like the facade of health. Right.
People are going to judge based on appearances.
Yes.
And because he's 20 and has extreme plastic surgery and is on steroids, he looks on the surface like he's healthy.
Exactly.
She, however, looks like death.
Exactly. Like,
but has been destroying herself at a much slower rate.
Yeah.
And it is catching up to her now that she's getting into those, you know, danger zone years where those bad decisions really will start to show their consequences. He's just too young for us to see that yet.
Ethan Miller in the chat says, not everyone does dumb stuff in their 20s. I said, well, no, I did not say every single person on earth does dumb stuff in their 20s, but being in your 20s is a hallmark of a time when you make mistakes and you don't always make the right decision. It makes more sense socially. It's more socially acceptable to do dumb things in your 20s than it is to do dumb things once you're getting into your 30s and your 40s.
20-year-olds definitely have not yet developed great judgment.
And this is all kind of off topic anyways, because, like, the point is like, your platform behavior should be judged on your platform behavior, not what you're doing off platform.
Right. A lot of people are saying, well, you're doing drugs on your streams.
I'm saying if he's doing
none
that,
none of that is on YouTube,
Yeah.
though. That's all on Kick. Yeah. And the VODs that he goes and posts on YouTube as he put it, have all of that stuff censored out already. So it is basically a ban for off-platform behavior.
All right, we got a 20 there. Let me get to it here. It says from Pop Culture Junkie. It says, do you folks have any thoughts about how the YouTube TOS rules are enforced? Do you get a sense that it is mostly automated, or is there a point downstream where a human being is in the loop?
Well, I saw a lot of comments that were actually about YouTube's new AI regulations getting wrongfully enforced on YouTube channels that don't even use AI. I don't know much about that, but I did see a comment from I think it was that Umbrella guy about that very issue. Maybe he has experience with that.
Yeah. I mean, it feels to me that it's more and more automated than ever before these days, and it is egregious. Like when somebody gets banned unfairly and then can't get a hold of at least a human being to talk to them about it.
It feels like if you don't have a huge platform and personal contacts and relationships with people inside YouTube, you're basically effed. Like, you have no recourse whatsoever unless you have some sort of deal behind the scenes.
Yep. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Sophie Rain.
Yeah, so Sophie Rain, huge top earner on OF, recently made an appearance on the Iced Coffee Hour podcast. And I've watched a few of their episodes in the past. They usually interview people about tech and finance, but sometimes they have a wild card like this one. And it was like an hour and a half long clip farm, basically. There was no continuity to the conversation. It felt very unnatural. And what I learned from the parts that I watched is that really Sophie Rain is not a deep thinker. She's not that bright. And she spoke about some interactions that she's had with fans that left her feeling violated and uncomfortable, but she didn't go into detail. Let's watch this.
Okay, here we go.
A lot of people think that's going to just come up to me and touch me whenever they want to.
Have people tried that?
100% people have. And I think that's definitely like a con that I like to say out there. Like, obviously these men, they see you online, and when they see you in person, they're obviously going to think that they can do anything. And it's just not okay to just go up and like touch someone randomly. I just don't think that's okay, regardless if I'm online or not. But a lot of my fan interactions are actually really great. Like, a lot of them just know me from TikTok, and they'll come up, they'll ask for a picture, they'll ask what I'm doing here, how's my day going. I'll normally ask them what's a good place to go around here, because most of the times they're locals. And it's great. I love meeting new people just because I can get that kind of information.
Do you travel with security?
I try to. I definitely try to. I don't, though, normally.
That would be spooky for me.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's definitely crazy, but I take the good with the bad. You know, I'm so grateful to be here, and like I don't regret anything. I would never change anything.
Okay, when they said that would be spooky to me, were they talking about like it would be spooky to have that happen, or it would be spooky to travel with security?
To travel without security, I think is what he meant in her situation. And that was the second red flag in that clip. First of all, obviously, this woman has tens of millions of dollars, possibly even 100 million range net worth at her disposal. Why the hell is she not spending it on security when she travels? That's absolutely insane. And what's even more insane is getting on a podcast and telling everyone that you travel without security so they know that you're a good target if they want to wish you harm.
There was like some clip I saw people posting the other day where a guy said like he always carries like 10K in cash around with him or something like that. And they're like, why would you ever tell the world that? Are you insane?
Yeah, kind of insane to even admit that, let alone travel without security in her position. And I also find it interesting that she chose not to recall any specific instances of fans inappropriately touching her in public. She didn't really make it clear whether that was just people asking for hugs or, you know, being a little bit too touchy-feely, or if she's talking about full-blown assault. But I'm sure both are plausible scenarios that have already happened to her. And it's just glaringly obvious that the media you consume, especially these OF simps, it does actually warp your perspective of what normal human interaction looks like.
Well, I
like
mean,
you can't really divorce your corn consumption from the way that you view real life interactions. It does warp your sense of reality.
I mean, perhaps that is part of it, but a lot of it is also the parasocial relationship of all celebrities these days. Like I said, I watch a lot of wrestling podcasts, and this seemed to be like a universal theme at WrestleMania this year because they were at a different hotel in Vegas than they normally were. So fan interactions were increased. There was this incident where Bailey and I forget who it was. It might have been AJ Lee were like talking, and a fan just literally walked up and put a phone in their face when they were like trying to say goodbye to each other. And then like they're like a lot of times the male wrestlers have to like get involved and push them out of the way.
Yeah.
And the incidences are going up in these types of things because people feel like somebody's telling a story on a podcast recently about how a guy went up to Seth Rollins and like tried to get in a fight with him because he thought he ripped him off for money because a fake Seth Rollins like took him for money on Facebook Messenger or something like that.
Oh my God.
So it's like you don't know what their intentions are.
Yeah.
If you're Sophie Rain and you're worth $100 million, you should absolutely be traveling with private security all day, every day.
She's giving people the benefit of the doubt, and I hope that doesn't end in serious consequences for her. Obviously, this is nothing new, and it's nothing exclusive to women who are on OnlyFans. I mean, everyone knows about the tragedy, what happened to Selena, and everyone's seen that video of York fist fighting paparazzi. It happens to people in the public eye. And Emaru, of course, more recently at TwitchCon.
Christina Grimmie.
There are countless different examples of this. So it's not new, but I have a feeling that like maybe fan behavior is crazier than it used to be because of the introduction of social media worsening those parasocial relationships or making them more common than they used to be, for sure.
Well, the joke they made about the wrestlers was just the wrestlers were just gigantic back in the day, and like without phones to like stop them from doing something, they're probably gonna not like you weren't gonna get away with that behavior the way that they get away with it now.
But I will maintain that there is something unique about the fact that she is a digital sex worker, I guess, if you want to go with the industry approved term. And I'm sure 99.9% male fans of hers do seem to think that they have an actual relationship with her and that they have some sort of ownership over her in a sexual manner because she offers herself up online and shows everything. And they asked her a lot of different questions about the nature of what she does. Of course, all the obvious things. They want to know how much she makes. They want to know, how she still identifies as a Christian despite being on OF, and her thoughts on Bonnie Blue because she spoke out against Bonnie Blue.
Did you see the clip of I almost picked it for cringe of the day. I guess Bonnie Blue's brother is like trying to start a rap career. Maybe I'll play it as cringe of the day on Monday. It was brutal.
That's awful.
Yeah.
What's his rap name?
I didn't even see one. It was like him lip syncing a song, but looking like he was in front of a crowd for the first time and like really timid. I have no idea if it was I think Fear Buck posted it, but it really made me laugh. Maybe I'll do it as cringe of the day on Monday, but it was rough. It was rough.
Well, they asked her all of these questions, and every single one, she answered in this like basically word salad default lib mentality. Like, yeah, like she totally walked back everything that she said about Bonnie Blue. She was like, like whatever makes you happy, you should do that, and like no hate to anyone who's like getting their bag, and I'm Christian, it's important to me, and like God's on my side, and I don't really think that that's like, I don't think that like being on OF is like bad, or like Christians can't do that, and it's just like it's religion, it's like personal to me, and like everyone should just like be happy and like do whatever they want as long as it's not hurting anybody.
It's kind of
like she's just not a thinker. She's never thought about any of these things.
Well, it's an interesting sort of worldview where now at her level of fame, you're not just somebody posts pictures online. You're also expected to go out on interviews and have opinions when the average person doesn't have a whole ton of opinions outside of the things that they care specifically about. These interviews would be more like I understand the impulse to get these types of quotes, but it feels like if you're going to have somebody like her on, it would be more about finding out the things she actually cares about. I'm sure that there is, and maybe going granular about things that actually interest her rather than like asking the societal questions where, you know, she just doesn't care. So it's not even that the answer is bad. It's that the interviewer should have asked different questions as well.
Right. Well,
like I did see another clip about like how much money have you made? Like that's what people want to hear. Let's face it. Like what they want to hear is like, oh, you actually made $100 million. She's like, oh yes, I did. Like it's not Photoshop. People are saying I'm faking it. Blah blah blah. Like those are the ones that are going to get clips. Like that's the stuff that's actually going to get views.
Right. They know what's going to go viral. Yeah. Although they did get into some more personal stuff. I think what's obvious though is that OF is not Sophie Rain's end game here. And that's why she's doing interviews with TMZ and other outlets and this podcast. Being a media personality is diversifying her media portfolio beyond just getting naked on camera. And even though she's not that good at it, she understands that it's important for her longevity on all platforms. And she also said that her ultimate goals include having a baby someday, living on a farm and having a bunch of animals. And she wants to, you know, own other businesses. She said that she just created a construction company. I have no idea what that means for her or who is really doing the operations on that day to day.
Did you see the clip of Amaranth?
Clearly, she's looking for success in other avenues.
Did you see the Amaranth clip about owning 4 gas stations? She owns 3 gas stations and she's buying a 4th because it lessens her tax burden.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, clearly these women don't want to resign themselves to doing what they do for the rest of their lives. And they also understand that it comes with an expiration date. Not everyone can like be immortal and ageless. So she realizes that, you know, she needs to secure her bag for the future. And also she apparently wants to have kids, and that implies that she wants to get married one day as well, yet makes, like, according to her, very little to no effort to actually meet anyone to date, and has gone on 3 dates, according to her, ever since starting OF years ago. So she also said, like, other creepy interactions have been men approaching her in public to ask her on a date. They claim not to know who she is beforehand, and then she looks them up and they already follow her, which is super weird. Like, why would you even lie about that at that point? It's just so,
I guess like
creepy.
They probably feel like they have more of a chance if they don't know her as opposed to if they do.
But that implies that she actually doesn't like, you know, the people who follow her, which is probably true.
Yeah.
You know, they know that they're, they know that she doesn't want, like, respect any of her simps enough to actually spend time with them.
Yeah.
So they have to lie about not being a simp.
I guess would that be like would the male equivalent be like if you were like Elon or if you're like a billionaire and like she's like, I didn't even know who you were.
Or she was like, oh, yeah, I've seen Teslas before. I just didn't know that, like, you made them.
Maybe Elon is a bad example, but, like, I'm trying to think of, like, but it would have to be one of those front-facing CEOs that has a lot of... No, actually, Elon is a good example because he's very front-facing. Like, there's plenty of CEOs that are worth a ton of money that nobody would ever be able to pick out of a lineup. Like I said, David Zaslav could go anywhere and nobody's going to know who he... 90% of the world doesn't know who he is.
Right.
So
yeah.
I guess that would be the real test would be a girl the guy being like, oh, she said she didn't know who I was, but then I realized she follows me on X. It'd be like Elon saying that. He'd still probably have a kid with her though. That's the thing. He'd still probably do it just, because he wants to continue spiking the birth rate.
He has torrid history of the women that he chooses to date and have children with.
All right.
Overall, I am exhausted with these women who are on OF trying to pose as public intellectuals. And fitting example of that is a woman that we have discussed on the show before, back when she was invited to speak at the University of Washington. Apparently she was also, she was also invited to speak at Harvard.
Ari Kitsia.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some foreign name I don't know how to pronounce. But she spoke to TMZ about, the haters who think that she doesn't deserve to be welcomed into spaces like academia. I mean, I think they're perfect bedfellows at this point, but let's watch this, or at least part of it, until we get sick of it.
Okay.
In a classroom, I would love to hear why. And I would love to have a real conversation about that with them, because they're just assuming something before even listening, because I'm sure that if they were to actually hear me say, well, it is a human sexuality class, or we are talking about taboo businesses, they might be like, well, that makes sense. I'm not going into a classroom of people under the age of 18. Everybody is 18 and above. Everybody is in that class specifically to learn about sex and psychology and all of these different things, and have listened to other speakers. So I agree that I do not belong in every space. There's things that I should not be the face of, or that I should not be speaking at, because that's not the place for me.
Okay. That good? Was there more? Yeah.
I mean, she sounds the same exact way that Sophie Rain sounds.
Word
honestly, salad.
That clip just, no, I don't really think that was word salad. She said that the places she went to speak were specifically around what she's famous for, and she's not going into places where you're with people under 18. She's not going into places where the subject matter doesn't have anything to do with her. I actually don't find anything inherently wrong with what she just said. It didn't seem like word salad to me. It felt actually very pointed and direct.
Well, she tries to do the same thing that Sophie Rain does, where she positions herself in contrast to other OnlyFans stars. She's like, I'm not like the other OF hoes. I'm an intellectual, and I'm an activist trying to fix the porn industry to be more feminist and women-centered. And we're going to, platform female stories or something. And it comes off as, lacking any real meaning, because she's going to speak to these students and further normalize her profession to them, and merely suggesting that that this is a viable path for them, even though she poses as someone who is real about the risks and the consequences. She, in reality, doesn't seem to care about protecting people from making those bad decisions at all.
My real issue here is the fake depth of field Gaussian blur, which is just absurd. We need to ban that. They need to soften that Gaussian blur. It needs to be a lot less than that.
What's with TMZ doing all of these? What?
Oh, go ahead.
What is with TMZ doing all of these interviews with the OnlyFans women, by the way?
I don't know.
Is this a new pivot for them?
Could be.
I've noticed them platforming more of this lately.
I don't know. It could be that. I feel like it's probably been going on all the time, right? Like, is there like a reason why they wouldn't? I feel like they're always doing this. The more recent example is them covering politics, right? Like they've got their DC bureau. I feel like these types of things, Sophie Rain in particular, just because she's the most famous one, therefore she rates having some type of, interview, because she's, I guess, like an unofficial spokesperson for the industry.
I guess this is just TMZ in the age of feigning celebrity.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to, let's see, make sure we didn't miss anything there. Okay, we are good. What would you like to see, cringe or cute of the day?
Let's start with the cringe today.
Cringe first. First of all, let me...
Hopefully this one actually works.
All right. Yeah, let's double check here. All right, let's refresh, because yes, like the last 2 days it hasn't been working.
This might actually convince you to put Nala Ray on your Tax Hero Hall of Fame.
Okay.
I took my IRS forms that I've gotten in the mail, which are numerous, by the way, because they're always telling me like, oh, this is a late payment, this is a late, like you're running late, this is due now, right? And this is a crap ton of money. And so I took these forms and I literally came down here once again. I set them on the table. I looked at it, pointed at it. I was like, you have no authority over me. I demand in the name of Jesus that you move. Let me tell you.
Turns out the Bible actually says you should pay your taxes.
Wait, so can you tell me something? Is that a skit or was that real?
Honestly, I can't even tell anymore.
All the jokes that I make about tax heroes, I have never once ever advised anybody not to pay their taxes because that's insane and the government is going to come for you.
I took my mail from the IRS and I pointed a crucifix at it and I said, I rebuke you, the IRS.
Oh my God.
In the name of Jesus, I rebuke my taxes.
See, and here's what I mean when I say that we have an issue of intelligence in this country, which is that people were looking at the clip of Amaranth saying that she bought 3 gas stations to lessen her tax burden, and people were in the comments like, you're not supposed to admit to tax evasion. Of course, it's not tax evasion. And then people literally got into a semantic argument about how she was avoiding taxes, but the legal way.
Which isn't tax evasion.
Yeah. They're like, she's evading the taxes, but she's doing it in a way that's legal. I'm like,
look, you can criticize Amaranth for a lot of things. That's really not one of them.
correct. Okay, let's go ahead and do Cute of the Day because that was ridiculous. Here we go. This is from Reggie. Says, Apple on the left and Lola on the right. They had the option of rewatching Lord of the Rings with me or taking a nap. They chose poorly. I like that. I like that, like, on the window bed.
They've learned to share the space efficiently.
That's amazing. Okay. All right. Let's move on.
So Elizabeth Banks recently showed up on the Kelly Clarkson show to promote her new series, which is called The Miniature Wife. And she took that moment to recall being told she wouldn't be able to direct men as a female director because men just don't listen to women. They don't respect women's authority. And she felt the need to prove them all wrong by directing Ray Liotta in Cocaine Bear, which actually was a really good movie. I'll add, just in case anyone forgot, we had glowing reviews for Cocaine Bear. That was a highlight of her career.
Yep.
Probably her peak has already come and gone.
I was trying to think of a joke. I was like, she directed the bear really well, but the bear was a woman. So
right.
She chose the bear.
Right. The female bear.
She chose the female bear.
This interview, by the way, I did watch it in full. It's completely ridiculous because when she had the chance to market this new series, The Miniature Wife, she could have actually made it stand out as a story that actually shows a loving couple that's actually quite wholesome. As far as I could tell from the trailer, this features a husband and wife who actually love each other, who have an intact relationship. And yet, when she's promoting it to this audience of mostly women, she says, it's really diving into those themes of how women are diminished by their partners, by men. And it's about power imbalances in heterosexual relationships.
It's not going to matter anyways, because one of the things that we'll end up talking about here is she ends up walking back her statements later and pretending like she didn't say that stuff, because she did the same thing with Charlie's Angels in 2019, where she promoted the movie almost entirely on feminist ideology. But then after the movie bombed a couple years later, when she was doing the press tour for Cocaine Bear, she's like, I don't know why everybody said that. I was just trying to make a dumb action movie. Like, what are they talking about? We've got the receipts, too, thanks to an old article from Christian Toto, who decided to point all that out. But continue.
So she was asked about times that she was made to feel small as an actor, director, and producer in Hollywood, because she's, of course, playing a 6-inch tall woman in this new show. She didn't hesitate to remember being told that she could not direct male actors if she were to step behind the camera. I was literally told because I direct films that you can't direct men. They won't follow you. And then I directed Ray Liotta, who played Henry Hill in Goodfellas, and I think I nailed it. Check. It's all good. Banks has directed major Hollywood studio movies such as Pitch Perfect 2, Charlie's Angels, and Cocaine Bear.
Were there Were there no men in Pitch Perfect? I remember there being men in Pitch Perfect, I guess.
Which co-starred Ray Liotta and grossed $90 million in 2023. The Pitch Perfect sequel made $287 million worldwide, and the Charlie's Angels reboot in 2019 stumbled with a $73 million take. And then Banks has been honest in past interviews about her frustration over Charlie's Angels being reduced to a chick flick by the media. She told the New York Times in 2022 that she wished the film's marketing had not been presented as just for girls, later telling Rolling Stone that's the only perspective the media was interested in perpetuating anyway. So much of the story that the media wanted to tell about Charlie's Angels was that it was some feminist manifesto. People kept saying, "You're the first female director of Charlie's Angels." And I was like, they've only done a TV show and movies. What are you talking about? There's not this long legacy. I just love the franchise. There was not this gendered agenda from me. That was very much laid on top of the work. And it was a little bit of a bummer. It felt like being pigeonholed me and the audience for the movie. To lose control of the narrative like that was a real bummer. You realize how the media can frame something regardless of how you framed it. I happen to be a woman who directed a Charlie's Angels movie that happened to star 3 incredible women. You can't control the media saying you're a lady director and that's special, which it is, but it's not the only thing.
Should we go through some of the quotes that were in the Christian Toto article from around the time of the Charlie's Angels release?
Sure, why not?
I'll start with one of them. "I just could not stop thinking about how I felt I could bring the themes of sorority and sisterhood and camaraderie and women working together as a team into an action movie if I did a Charlie's Angels movie, and that Charlie's Angels already had that built into its DNA. I think it's important as a woman and as a filmmaker and as a feminist to recognize that I stand on the shoulders of the women that came before me. The inclusivity and the openness of those scenes really matters to me, and I think it really speaks to women and how we should be conducting ourselves." That makes me want to go see an action movie.
In a separate interview, she shared how she tweaked the movie to be more empowering. "One of the ingredients of this movie was supporting and believing women. We literally have a character who is essentially working at a big corporation and is not being believed or listened to by her bosses. One of the statements this movie makes is that you should probably believe women. We have as much validity in what we're feeling and how we want to go about living in the world, being in the world." And that was really important to me, that we felt like we had characters that were being taken seriously and given a chance to live their best life.
You notice how, like,
whatever the hell that means.
She tied in the quote about believing women, which is directly connected to the idea of factual, accusations of things that are supposed to have actually happened in the world, but then relays it to the idea of validity in how we're feeling, which is very different from believing somebody making a claim or an accusation.
She also complained about the marketing strategy for Charlie's Angels later on, saying that they directed the movie too much at a female audience instead of mass appeal.
I 110% believe that the studio wanted this marketing. I don't believe for a second that she had a problem with it when they were doing it.
I remember that at the time they had Lana Del Rey and Ariana Grande and I forget who else, some other pop star, do a group music video for promotion of the movie. Their song was going to be on the soundtrack. It was a terrible song. It was called like "Don't Call Me Angel."
Okay.
Yeah. And it was so bad. It was worse than that Kalani song that they put in Suicide Squad.
Not to become like amateur like film critic or like culture critic, but having a movie called Charlie's Angels and then having something called Don't Call Me Angel might be the worst thing ever.
Yeah, and it was all like, I'm a bad bitch. Don't call me that. Like, I'm more than that or something. I don't know. But they had a partnership with Dry Bar, and Elizabeth Banks calls it was like a hair blowing thing. It's a hair salon, okay? And she said, could we have an ad during the baseball playoffs? It's not only this one thing. It was interesting to see how the industry sees things that star women. It was a real lesson for me. Yes. Oh, you were in the middle of the eye of the storm, trying to be a voice of reason in all of this. You're begging the studio not to make this a girl boss movie while talking about empowerment and believing women.
I'm going to read a super
like,
chat here because
lane.
I'm going to read a super chat here because it was the point I was going to make, and he made it as well. Robert Delara says, can someone ask Catherine Bigelow if Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves took her direction? I bet Gary Busey did. Yeah, the first thing that I thought of when I saw this was Catherine Bigelow in Point Break. I'm going to make a Kevin Spacey joke here too, but I'm not going to do that. Yeah, like it's there's so many examples in the real world. And I try to point out all the time that TV has a plethora of successful female directors that work every single day. And the men in the industry, which, let's face it, a large percentage of them are probably at the least like fake male feminists who pretend to care about women's issues, even if they don't actually. I just don't buy it. And I think that she's coping hard in pretending that the studio was 100% at fault for the failure of Charlie's Angels, as opposed to what it actually was, which is the studio pushed this in that direction and she gleefully went with it because it fit her feminist agenda.
Another talking point that is trotted out all too frequently is that female directors don't get second or third chances after having a failure at the box office, but she is herself an example to the contrary after Charlie's Angels. And you know what? That's fine, because Cocaine Bear was a great movie and I enjoyed it a lot. But don't pretend that you never said that shit. And by the way, this Miniature Wife series, I remember the log line for it coming out months ago, and I thought it was kind of a ridiculous concept. She plays this Pulitzer Prize winning writer with a scientist husband who is trying to create a novel technology to defeat world hunger, where it involves miniaturizing crops and then restoring them to their original size. He basically has a, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, like laser gun that miniaturizes stuff.
That actually sounds kind of cool. Okay,
yeah.
Why does that have to become a feminist thing or talking?
Not a bad concept.
No.
It's Kids, I Shrunk the Honey, basically.
Damn it.
He comes across this device that he created and accidentally takes it and miniaturizes herself.
Oh, please.
Thank you, guys. Which, all of that on the surface doesn't sound like a terrible concept for a series on Peacock, but what they decided to use as its synopsis claims it examines the power imbalances between spouses. It's supposed to be a comedy series.
Nothing with like laser guns that shrink stuff needs to examine power imbalances between spouses.
No. And it's supposed to be about his, realizing that she might not be able to return to normal size, and he's fighting to be able to restore her back to her normal self for the whole series.
To be fair,
it's about him like being caring toward his wife, not using it as some sort of power play to diminish her. That's ridiculous.
To be fair, this could be one of those things where they tend to over intellectualize and over answer what something's about.
They are.
So to a level where, yes, maybe the most like, I guess, identity politics, college brained obsessed person could maybe see that in there, but that doesn't mean that normal people are going to take that away from them. And I would say that when you're marketing a movie, you shouldn't be marketing to the letterboxed crowd. You should be marketing to the average everyday person. You focus on the parts that work for everybody, and then you can let the people who have the letterboxed accounts or write reviews get more granular about the really, I guess, not in depth, but like overly examined sides of a movie.
Yeah, and to be fair to her, I'm sure that back when she was doing promotion and marketing for Cocaine Bear, they really wanted to do the same thing, you know, because it's about the mama bear energy
Yeah.
of the antagonist, and it's about, you know, they could probably twist and turn that story into some sort of female empowerment thing too, but she didn't lean into it that time because she seemed to have learned her lesson, but is just not willing to admit that she was part of the problem
was
when it came to
Universal.
Charlie's Angels.
Oh, makes perfect makes perfect sense. It was a Lord and Miller production, and it was Universal. So they were like, "Yeah, that's not gonna work for us, brother. We're gonna need you to we're gonna need you to promote the fact that the bear is taking drugs. Okay, the
Right.
bear is high on cocaine.
More drugs,
More bear.
less feminism,
Absolutely.
more bear, more cocaine.
less feminism. Yes, absolutely. All right, let's move on. We've got more stuff to get into.
Yeah, so we're about to discuss a TikToker named MJ Gray who just displayed an egregious self-contradiction. Her fans are furious at her because at one point she was constantly giving them advice to never get married and suddenly revealed to her followers that she is now engaged after a 9-month relationship whirlwind romance with some mystery man who she refuses to show on camera. Not only that, she also is constantly bragging about all of the lavish gifts and vacations that she gets from this mystery man. Even one of her posts from just this past month says, "How do you get your man to buy you things? I chose a man who genuinely enjoys seeing me happy and can afford to buy me things. IDK." So she is openly bragging about this new relationship she's in and the fact that after a life of never expecting to settle down and get married ever, she suddenly has changed her mind. And she's now walking back all of that advice that she gave to her followers and saying, look, guys, life is complicated. Life is crazy. It takes a lot of crazy twists and turns, you know? Don't take advice from me. Don't let me dictate your life. Even though that's what you were doing just like last week, basically, like 2 seconds ago. You were dictating other people's lives. And now you're walking that back at record time.
So somebody made a very astute observation by look at the difference in locations between the two clips and you'll understand why she's walking it back. So let's listen to this here, ladies and gentlemen.
This is my scolding hot take, and you're either going to be ready to hear this or you're not going to be. Women historically have been slaves. I understand there's different forms of slavery, but women, in the true definition of the word, have been enslaved. Marriage was the act of making women property. Marriage was the way of exchanging women as property. Marriage was the property transfer of a woman between her father and her husband. Regardless of how you feel about it, that's the fact. That was the origination, the original purpose of marriage as a construct. The reason why you see divorce rates rise is because women finally have agency over whether or not we stay in these marriages. The reason why you're seeing marriage rates and birth rates decline is because for the first time in human history, women have had more agency than we've ever had on whether or not we get married in the first place and whether or not we decide to have children.
A few moments later.
Yes, I am engaged. Yes, I am the same person who made several videos saying that I never had any plans to get married, I did not want to get married, and I did not agree with the institution of marriage. The gag is, I still don't agree with the institution of marriage, but in those videos, I made caveats. Under certain circumstances, like if you plan on having children, if you plan on living together, if you plan on buying property together, those are the situations where marriage does make sense. I don't think you should feel like getting marriage is a milestone that you must make in your life to feel like an accomplished person. I don't think it's an accomplishment. I don't think as women you should feel pressured to get married, because when women are pressured to get married, they end up in bad situations. I am in a good situation. And I cannot tell you all of the details of the situation I'm in because now the situation I'm in involves another person. So I have to maintain privacy around my relationship, and I will be even more stringent about that going forward.
Okay.
You were right about that location change. If you're listening rather than watching, in the first clip where she is calling marriage slavery, she's sitting in her modest apartment, and in her engagement announcement, she is in a luxury hotel in Paris.
Funny
Now,
how
who's
that
to
works.
who's to say if this mystery man is the one footing the bill for it? I know she's an influencer, and she actually was paid for a lot of promotion for the new Devil Wears Prada movie. So maybe,
I don't
maybe
know.
it's actually the movie studio that's putting her up in this luxury, Parisian hotel. But she's one of the most shallow people I've ever come across. One of her videos is also captioned, "Imagine hating on me and I'm minding my own business at the Ritz in Paris wearing Bob Mackie."
It's designed to make people angry.
Whatever.
Am I wrong about that? Like, is there like when somebody says something like that, when somebody makes that post, that's designed to make people angry, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And humble brag and all of that. Or maybe not even humble brag. It's just bragging at that point. Like, imagine hating on me while I'm staying at a luxury hotel and wearing luxury clothes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, clearly it does bother you. And, it would have been a lot better for her to announce her engagement and say, you know what, guys, I have learned a lot of lessons very fast. And I no longer hold this view of marriage as a form of slavery. I was wrong. But she wasn't even able to do that. She had to, do a total reversal of everything that she claimed to stand for 5 minutes ago and claim that she was actually consistent the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And she still has the same branding as she had as a single woman. She sardonically calls herself supermodel billionaire and runs a podcast called, and I kid you not, the Man-Eater podcast, where she has countless female guests on to talk about the fact that they are radical feminists and hate men and hate marriage. One of them is called "Incel Culture is Just Entitlement." So-and-so wishes she was gay. Matriarchy now. Red-pilled men. It's just constantly like, of course, the name of it is the Man-Eater podcast. The whole thing is about men because she can never speak about anything else that interests her. Her entire life revolves around men in a negative sense.
Well, it's like you always say, like there's a certain type of content creator or even regular pop star like a Sabrina Carpenter whose entire brand is what they call male-centered. Meaning that for all the denigration, the point of it is still that they occupy pretty much the entirety of their brain and their business model.
Yeah, she also interviewed this other TikToker who goes by The Girl with the List. And her entire shtick is actually denigrating mothers. She finds moms who are making content for other moms and uses their videos as justifications for why she is never going to have children. So her list is all of these different reasons, most of which involve embarrassing medical complications that women suffer as a result of pregnancy and childbirth. So she'll take a mom's video talking to other moms about like uterine prolapse, and she'll put that mother on blast and say, I would never want to be this pathetic woman with a uterine prolapse. I'm adding this to my list, which is, of course, really debasing to the women that she's using for her content. And it's also just, obviously anti-natalist propaganda, because if it were really just about you and your decision not to have children, you wouldn't feel the need to broadcast it to everybody. But I want to say this is not really a right or left thing. It's not really a feminist or traditionalist thing. It's pretty much everyone in the media sphere. Someone responded to MJ Gray's post and said, they're all like this. Red pill and MGTOW gurus who are married with kids, Christians promoting trad wives for others, but have wives that work themselves. And it reminded me first of a certain Christopher Rufo tweet where he suggested that Gen Z men who are frustrated with the current economy and job market should sail into the upper middle class by becoming assistant managers at a suburban Panda Express. And this is a person with a pedigree, okay? He, works with Hillsdale, the Manhattan Institute, has a Substack. He is a public intellectual who clearly, holds on to his pedigree very dearly. But he suggests to all of the plebs that they should work at Panda Express in order to one day own a home in the middle of nowhere. Maybe. He even tweeted out, would you rather be a black slave in the antebellum South or assistant manager at Panda Express?
Okay.
And
okay, so...
And then it also reminded me of plenty of other, self-contradictions on both the left and the right. So, sure, MJ Gray is one of them. Alex Cooper is another one who, for years,
the contradiction
for female fans to be promiscuous and then ended up, winning in the end by getting married, and now her husband runs her company. There's also plenty of voices on the right that say you shouldn't go to college, you shouldn't send your kids to college, but then you look at the decisions that they make in their personal lives, and they always seem to prioritize those things.
What is the Christopher Rufo contradiction? Just because he's an intellectual?
Well, because he would never do that himself, and he would never encourage anyone in his own circle that he runs with to do so, nor his kids. He thinks Panda Express for thee, not for me. I, on the other hand, I am going to go to an Ivy League school. I'm going to work with think tanks. I'm going to be a media personality.
Yeah, but like not everybody,
Ivory Tower.
Not everybody can go and work at think tanks. Okay, like
he
that. Like
he lives in a bubble and thinks that he understands what it's like for people outside of that bubble.
I'm not saying that it's not a bit of a. First of all, it's obviously simplistic, right? It's an overly simplistic way of describing something like that. But that's indicative of the form of media. Was this written in a Substack or something like this?
Well, it was all the way back in like January of 2025.
But giving somebody like general advice, even if it seems a bit absurd, is not necessarily contradictory. It's more just the fact that he's going to be speaking to an audience. Like if he's speaking to me, guess what? I'm the tested 85 IQ. I'm not working for a think tank, and I'm not going and being some type of thought leader intellectual. That is better advice for me than it is for necessarily somebody of a higher IQ, and that's fine. I don't necessarily see that as a contradiction in terms, just because he has his kids going a different direction. He's not necessarily speaking to all people. He's trying to find somebody who's looking for a path and then giving them an idea of a path that they can go on, even if it does obviously seem a bit simplistic. And it's like when they tell you to do the blue collar hack, when it's not that easy to just pick up a career in a trade, given the amount of hours and how much work actually goes into it. It's not as easy as they make it seem. Like, I don't necessarily see that as a contradiction.
Well, I understand the concept of being an exception or being an exceptional person, and giving advice to average people because you have a large platform. And I even said that about Charlie Kirk and Erica Kirk. They gave advice to a lot of college students who were just at the beginning of their adult lives.
Well, we said this
generally
about
told them to do things that they themselves did not do, and that's something where I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt sometimes, that they are exceptional people living exceptional lives, and they're trying to give advice for what they believe to be the majority or average person. But I do think you would be justified in maybe side-eyeing the intellectual class a little bit, because they have a vested interest in keeping themselves in rarefied air in the circles they run in that they respect more, and genuinely do, consciously or not, feel the need to gatekeep. That's definitely how it seems, is that they're gatekeeping. And that goes especially for people who go to Ivy League schools and then tell you, and also send their kids to Ivy League schools and tell you not to, send your kids to college.
But those are people that can afford to send them, right? They're sending those kids to college, not taking out loans.
Well, usually they frame it as those are indoctrination camps.
Okay, yeah, that's a different. Yes,
you're not going to actually, find any upward mobility anymore by going to college, which that's obviously not true.
Me and you have had this discussion with Tate a bunch of times where it's like
Yeah.
they tell you not to go to college. It's like, yeah, okay. But how many of the barrier to entry jobs now require a 4-year degree? And you're not, first of all, people aren't getting interviews anyways, even with 4-year degrees or further. Right?
Let alone the connections that you make for the rest of your life by going to a more prestigious institution like the ones that they attend.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's also the common refrain of like, get out of the cities, don't live in the cities, even though most of the people saying that live in cities. And I mean, again, I am willing to give the benefit of the doubt sometimes that they're trying to give advice to the average pleb out there. But at the same time, they also have an incentive to gatekeep and build themselves up while keeping other people down.
All right. Let's move on. Let's talk about the TikTokers. They are mad lads, and they are out here trying to map out the Scientology facilities.
I must say, just to preface, I am very much in favor of Gen Z TikTokers, specifically the young men on TikTok, getting up to some mischief. We're really in need of some more mischief in the world. And as long as it's playful and not criminal, like what it sounds like in this article, I am sympathetic to these young men. So the Hollywood Reporter interviewed a TikToker who is recently turned 18, who originated this trend called the Scientology run, or maybe the genre deep runs on the platform. And he now says that the copycats of this trend have taken it too far and ruined the fun. How an 18-year-old TikToker's Scientology run inspired a trend, and why he says it's gone too far. The creator, who calls himself Swiley, wants the copycats to stop. On March 31st, an 18-year-old content creator on TikTok who goes by Swiley jogged through the lobby of a Church of Scientology building in Hollywood, laughing as a staffer told him to leave. He made it down the hallway, down a flight of stairs, ducked under a woman's arm, and pushed through an exit. The whole bit lasted under a minute. The clip exploded to what he says is like hundreds of millions of views. And a little under a month later, the Scientology run, known more generally among the community as deep runs, has hardened into a format and into something that Swiley no longer recognizes. The trend is currently also being investigated by the LAPD. I do not condone what I did, he says. Like, that's just a crazy sentence. I don't condone what I did. Even though I didn't break any laws. All I did was explore the building. I was never asked not to come back to the premises. Swiley, who asked that his legal name be withheld, grew up in California. However, he won't say which county. He came to LA last year to hang out with friends wearing a pair of Meta Ray-Ban smart glasses and filmed a homeless man who appeared to be on drugs talking to himself. That first Instagram post, he says, cleared 50 million views. And from there on out, I was like, hey, I kind of want to pursue content. So that's questionable.
He got bit by the bug.
Really not a fan of the smart glasses content. We have talked about that on the channel before. I think it's slimy to record people without their permission, even though it's technically not breaking the law. I do think that it's unethical and definitely weird. It's happened to me, by the way. What followed was a run of street interview videos, first focused on the homeless population around Skid Row, then performers and characters in Hollywood. So he tries to kind of make it sound less exploitative by spinning it into a tale of philanthropy. He says that he paid the subjects of his videos and used a share of the ad revenue to buy meals, sometimes organizing group meetups where he and other creators fed close to 100 people at a time. I felt like I was able to do some good with the money I was making, he says. The Scientology detour began one afternoon last year when Swiley walked past the church's Hollywood complex and met Streets LA. By the way, he goes by Scientology Audit on TikTok, a prolific critic of the organization.
That is a dangerous niche to have.
I bet that guy has received his fair share of cease and desist letters. Yeah.
Yep.
He told me the whole story about Scientology, what they're about, that they're a cult, this and that. I thought it was funny, says Swiley. He walked inside the Church of Scientology building on Hollywood Boulevard and, wearing his Ray-Bans, filmed a staffer selling him a book and left. That video, too, went viral. From there on out, I pretty much knew that Scientology was like a free gateway to a lot of views. A fellow creator, Alex, who posts as Is Derpy on TikTok and who ran the first solo version of the stunt, asked Wiley to do a second run with him. That collaboration, filmed March 31st, is the one that broke containment. In the weeks since, at least one group of teens has tried to replicate the bit with, by Swiley's account, a very different execution. They went through there with 5 people, broke open the door, or either that or someone ran through there and opened it for them, the side door. They all had masks on or towels over their face. They had air horns, ran through, creating a crazy commotion. I heard they actually pushed a Scientologist to the ground, which is insane to me. That's assault. Another copycat incident in Clearwater, Florida, the town that functions as Scientology's spiritual headquarters, involved a teenager who shot out a window of the local church with a BB gun and got arrested. Swiley says, I never once in any video or comment or anywhere promoted the idea of running through there or beating my record. He says other creators have messaged him asking to collaborate on Scientology runs, and he has turned all of them down. Anyone who's messaged me, it's just not a smart idea. What they did was, in my words, quoted, effing tarded. I'll just say that. They should not have done that shit. And when asked whether he had consulted a lawyer yet, he says, no, this is just my own knowledge. I mean, this was a one-off video that happened to go effing majorly viral. And he added he has not been contacted by the Church of Scientology or the police. He is aware that the church is famously litigious. Unless they have a note sending in the mail right now, I really didn't do anything. I have always been polite to them. So let's judge for ourselves by first watching the video from Swiley's perspective. This is the one on Instagram.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, well, out here, I'm going in. Wow, it's nice in here.
That skip was crazy.
Okay, now you're committing a crime. Now you're committing a misdemeanor. Yeah, you gotta get out.
Okay, I'll leave.
Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out!
Okay.
So that's where Swiley exits. And on the other side is his collaborator friend, Alex, the Is Derpy guy. And we have his video POV next. So we can see him going into one of the inner rooms and asking, where's Xenu? Over and over again.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. I'm Wallahi. I'm going in here. I'm Wallahi. I'm Wallahi. Ooh, I'm Wallahi. I'm going in here. Where's Xenu? Xenu's not here. Huh?
Let's just be nice and exit the building.
Okay, I'll go on the other one. Damn, you got a nice haircut.
You just committed a misdemeanor, okay? Yeah.
Huh?
We're gonna press charges.
Trespassing.
Yeah. Not
Oh, yeah?
only that, but you went into
You put hands on me last
That's
time.
kind of an
You
insane
ripped my
haircut.
shirt.
You went into-
I have evidence of you touching me.
Just go for it.
I didn't
Go
do
for it.
anything.
Okay.
So there they are threatening to press charges, but according to Swiley, they have not followed through on that promise. What do you think, Brett? Are you in favor?
No.
Or...
I mean, I understand the impulse is that, yes, it's cool because people don't like Scientology. But if this was just somebody's small business, you'd think they were a piece of shit. It's a piece of shit thing to do. People are just saying that because they don't like the target, that it's okay.
Well, it's not a business, though. It is a cult, and they are victimizing everybody that you saw in that video.
Look,
So it's kind of an easy it.
you
'cause
don't-
People in the comments are never going to sympathize with
Well,
the
yeah,
people.
but that's what I'm saying.
in
That's
building.
that's the hack in this case, is that you've picked somebody who you deem, so they don't know what's going to happen there. Somebody runs in. What if that person has a weapon, and then now people are fearing for their lives? Like that, you don't know what somebody running into your place of worship or whatever means, right? Like, it's not necessarily about whether they're being victimized by the church. That's up for whatever debate. Like, I don't know, it's a legal organization, whatever, and I don't know what it makes the people that are in that business feeling, other than feeling tormented, or possibly if it's somebody else, they could feel afraid. And I don't support doing that with any business, or in this case here. I get the point. People don't like Scientology, whatever. I wouldn't do it. Plus, it's annoying. And that's on top of the fact that it's for content, therefore it's annoying.
Someone commented and said that this is safe edgy, run through a mosque, and then we'll talk. So
okay.
It's safe edgy because literally nobody is on Scientologists' side.
Okay, I wouldn't want them doing this at a Catholic church either, and running around asking, where's Jesus?
Well, look, I know that it depends on who you ask, but the Catholic Church isn't a cult that abuses people.
My point is that I'm not classifying a distinction. It's the behavior I'm criticizing.
Yeah, I understand that. I think that this behavior is probably a symptom of the fact that, like, here's a universal truth. Young men are risk-taking, and they don't really evaluate risks before they impulsively act. So they don't really detect danger when they ought to. That's a universal truth that predates social media. But then you add social media in there and the incentive for clout, which he is talking about in this interview, and they go in blind, essentially. Like, they see all reward and no risk because they haven't given it any forethought. But I still think that it's funny. Like, I don't really mind a lot of the harmless mischief that I see TikTokers getting up to, as long as they're not, attacking people like that guy Mizzy was. He was like jumping people and hurting them in the streets, invading people's homes. Is a totally different thing that we're talking about there. But he basically feels like it all started out as harmless fun, and now the copycats are ruining what he started. He said he is careful to distinguish himself, though, from the creators who frame the same stunt as a form of activism.
Oh, so it's more pure when he does it. He's a soul runner. He does it purely for the love of the game.
For the thrill. Yeah, because I think he is trying to say he doesn't know anything about Scientology. He just thinks that he's going to keep doing something because it gets him views.
That's worse. That means he's like a tornado. He'll do it to anything as long as it makes content.
He said, I didn't do this whatsoever to come out against Scientologists or anything, even though that's kind of what it looks like. Not once did I say it's a cult or get out or anything like how other people do it. He says he recently turned 18, quote, unfortunately, I'm aging too fast, man. Nice. He says he is open to acting or influencer work if the offers land in his lap, but isn't chasing a Hollywood career. It's just not very realistic for me. There's other things I could spend my time on to get a better ROI.
See, again, like, I get it. Maybe I've just aged out of this, but, that's just me.
I'm just looking at the comments and I see literally zero counter signaling. People are even watching these videos to construct or recreate a floor map of the building, which I think is suggestive that people will take this further than they should and put people in danger. But maybe they're just doing a bit and it's not even a real map. Like, I don't know.
I'll make another point too, which is that, like, 25 years of skating, right? Almost all of that on private property, and never once, outside of maybe in the most extreme examples when you've been trying a trick for like an hour and you're just frustrated and you get kicked out of a security guard, I never gave them trouble. I'm literally like, yep, I'm doing something wrong here. Like, I'm technically breaking the law. I'm out here. And they're always in there for the most part, unless it's some type of dude who takes his job super seriously. They're like, okay, have a good day. And I would go on about my day, because I know that as much as I believe in what I'm doing is fun and I like it and it's a challenge, technically what I'm doing is not legal. So, like I look at that differently because I never gave a hard time or put a camera in the face of a security guard who was just doing his job, just like the people at this building are just like, could you leave, please? And then they get turned into content.
Well, these kids just don't really respect any form of authority. So
I give leeway because they're young and they're kids. I get it, right?
But although they are technically not kids, like legally they are adults and are fully
they're
responsible
young
for their
adults.
actions, and it might not turn out for them the way they planned.
Yeah.
But they have a lot to learn.
I'd be willing to bet that the majority of the people that are okay with this are okay with it because it's a Scientology building. And if they were to do this to any other private business, they'd be like, these kids today, it would stop being about Scientology, and it would start being about these clout chasing TikTokers who are making society horrible. So
right. But the thing is, I did push back on the analogy to, running through a church or a mosque or a business, because the difference between those things and Scientology actually does matter. Like, this is a cult. All of the people that you saw in that building are complicit members of a cult that is actively abusing and enslaving people and brainwashing them. Like, that is true. They are and by the way, Scientologists do the same thing in a more covert and organized way. They do terrorize, stalk, and hurt people, and allegedly even kidnap people.
So if they're but if they're going in there,
same thing, but not for clout.
If they're going in there and they're scaring people who have been brainwashed and are being manipulated, is that a good thing? Like, they're going in there and causing problems for people who are already, by that definition, being brainwashed and harmed?
Well, that also, that absolves them of their accountability. They're both complicit in the abuse and are victims of it.
In the chat on Rumble, Swampy says, "Is that Brett on a Mexican Saint candle?" No, it's actually Tom Cruise, which is why it's here during this segment.
What a compliment, though.
Yes, I will take that as a compliment. That's me, Mr. Cruise.
Can we get an official comment from either Tom Cruise or Leia Ramini or both?
That's the thing. Tom Cruise would be unbelievably torn about this, because I had to explain this to you earlier, that one of the biggest tropes of any Tom Cruise movie is that he's constantly running.
Yeah, when you said look up Tom Cruise running, I actually already had the image in my head because I've seen it so many times. Yeah. He's kind of known for that.
He is. It's always the side profile. So he loves running, but he also loves Scientology. It's so conflicting. Well, we did do a I don't know if we ever covered it in a segment where there was like a Daily Mail report that was like, Tom Cruise has an issue with Scientology top brass and he hasn't been going. Like, does the Daily Mail have sources inside Scientology that knows that? I have no idea.
I wouldn't doubt it. They are a heavy presence in LA specifically, and having ties to the entertainment industry really matters to them.
Yep.
The one here in Nashville, its actual title is like Church of Scientology and Celebrity Center. Like, they care about being affiliated, whether or not it's actually accurate with the concept of fame and celebrity and that culture. So it wouldn't be so much of a surprise if they actually did feed stories to the media on a regular basis and like have moles everywhere.
Maybe my point is like, okay, if you want to do it again, the second they tell you to stop, you stop, and then you calmly walk out rather than continuing to cause a scene. Maybe I'm being a little bit nitpicky here, but again, like I think the fact that they're doing it, and apart from the first guy who made a point of like saying like it wasn't about Scientology other than the views, that it's just become a form to avoid the criticism of them being annoying TikTokers, which they are.
They are. I'll grant you that. They are annoying TikTokers.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to Super Chats here. We are pretty close to a second crisis party.
Cleggy said, shout out to my birthday twin, Olivia Dasovic.
Happy birthday to the both of you.
Happy birthday. Shane H. Wilder said, happy birthday, Cleggy and Olivia. Katie said, my heart breaks for the looks maxing guy. He needs Jesus Christ. It is self-injury. It is sad. I agree. I think people are very, I think they're misdirecting their anger at him when it should be at all of the influences that led him up to this current point.
I mean, but that's not really how the human brain works. Like, people don't think that, like, in the theoretical or in that sense, right? They have to put a face to a name.
AJ said women and girls had their pro-anorexia spaces in the 90s and 2000s. Society worried about them. Why are looks maxers presumed to be evil? That's kind of what I was saying. Yeah. And maybe part of that is just that, you know, women are always going to get more sympathy. Like, the suffering of women always evokes more sympathy than the suffering of men. But it is partly because of the surface level, like, shallow snap judgments that you can make about a person. So for instance, like, looking at Eugenia Cooney is going to fill you with a sense of dread and distress because you're visibly seeing the damage that she does to herself on the surface. But if you look at Clavicular, you wouldn't immediately know that he is both, like, mentally spiraling and physically destroying his health.
Also, like,
it's not.
Look, I can't claim to know everything or have, like, taken in all the information as, like, what it means to be a looks maxer, but the average rational person isn't going to be able to look past the advocation of doing meth. And they're just not. They're going to be like, that's horrible advice to give to people. And even if and hitting yourself in the face with a hammer. That's what it is. You become the most cartoonish, caricaturish version of your ideology. And if you tell people that you do street drugs to cut weight and you hit yourself with a hammer, even if it's just ever so slightly, you become that, and people aren't going to give you much quarter for that, even if there is some type of deeper intellectualism to your belief system. They're just not going to see it.
Well, do you think that he may have been exaggerating for clout and he actually just takes, you know, non-prescription Adderall?
I mean, I don't know. I've never watched the streams. I've never
I thought that was a possibility. I know that for sure he doesn't do meth on stream, because if he had, I would have seen clips.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That's an interesting idea. I mean, I don't think that necessarily pushing the off-label use for the purpose of weight loss is a good thing to do either.
Neither are good. It's just people picture very different things.
Yes.
When you're saying the word meth compared to saying, like, Adderall or Ritalin or something, which is chemically, you know, similar, but not quite as extreme sounding to people.
There's a Rumble rant here. This is important. Everybody needs to hear this. Broody Gambit says, happy Friday. I got a 92 on my Excel final and got a fancy new certification for my resume. Thank you for the distraction.
Congrats. I don't know what that means totally, but
certified in Microsoft Excel.
They offer that?
Oh, like, yeah, you can get certifications. Haven't you ever seen those videos of, like, the Microsoft Excel championships where they compete in games?
I know, yeah, that is a thing. Yeah. Congrats. Good for you for having an actual skill. Greg Duvier said, The Diary of Jane is a great song. Also, happy, I think you mean happy birthday to me and Olivia. Can we get no cringe for my birthday present? Sorry, it's too late on that one. Wow, we have a lot of birthday twins with Olivia in the chat.
There you go.
Happy birthday. Shane H. Wilder said, if corn / OF were banned, it would prevent this. Sex creates an intimate connection, and offering it up online creates a false connection with the pervs. Yeah, I mean, it's, of course, you're going to see, you know, people like the guy that ran up on Ariana Grande, for instance, or you're going to see the dude who, like, tackled Billie Eilish, or there are countless examples of this that don't involve OF. Those parasocial relationships will form regardless, but to act like you have no control over it, especially in her circumstance, is just denying reality. Robert Delara said, the interviews that people like Sophie Rain do are pointless. The interviewer is not going to ask them tough questions or challenge their views. I mean, I could tell that from the parts I watched, they were attempting to push back, but she just doesn't have a lot to offer in terms of a response. So it was really hard to get her to think about anything.
I mean, also, look, that's not the purpose of every podcast. Like not every podcast is there to challenge someone's worldview and choices in life. Sometimes you do what we do here, where I tell you we're just here to give you background noise to listen to every day. It's not the same. Like, not everybody has to be like a 60 Minutes reporter trying to. In fact, if anything, that's kind of become. Me and you've had this discussion, right? Like that's kind of the difference now. Is like back in the day, an interview was saved for like hard hitting questions, and now that's not really what it is. People don't listen to podcasts like when you think about when people. Maybe this is crazy. But like when 60 Minutes was asking tough questions of politicians and celebrities, it was something you watched at home on a television where all your focus was focused on that one thing. Now you listen to podcasts while you're doing dishes or driving to work or doing any number of other things. You're very rarely just sitting there listening to a podcast.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's true. You know, it's the iced coffee hour, not Barbara Walters. But since I have watched their show before, one of the interviews I had seen was the one they did with Brett Cooper. It was quite a while ago, actually, maybe a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And I somehow they did discuss the topic of corn, and they genuinely did push back on her views as a conservative on corn more than they pushed back on Sophie Rain.
Well, I mean, all that does is tell you what their worldview is.
Yeah, but that's like, you know, decide what kind of interviewer you are, actually. Because this guy, at least one of them, was pushing back especially hard to Brett Cooper's take, which is obviously just that, you know, as a conservative, she thinks that porn is bad and that porn addiction is a thing and it exists. And this guy was like pushing back to the point where it was almost getting uncomfortable.
Was it like like it felt like a self-report?
It did feel like a self-report. I don't remember their names, so forgive me if I'm like pinning it on one of them or the other, but like they were just like, well, what? You don't think there's like, maybe you can have it in moderation? Like, duh. And it was like, it was just a weird watch. And I just feel like it's not fair if you're going to bring on the woman who's making $100 million off of it and push back on it a little bit more than you push back on like the conservative take on it. You know, it's just kind of ridiculous to me to compare those two.
Broody Gambit over on Rumble says, statistically speaking, a truly random group of 23 people will have a pair that share a birthday.
Wait, what was that again?
He said
23 people?
Statistically speaking, a truly random group of people, a truly random group of 23 people will have a pair that shares a birthday.
All right. That makes sense.
Like within my friend group, like back home, like back in Minnesota that I skated with, we all shared a birthday with like somebody else it was very weird. Like shared a birthday with somebody else in the community. And
you share a birthday with
Lindsay
an assassination. Which assassination was it?
It was the attempt.
Or no, an
on
assassination
Trump.
attempt.
Yeah,
yeah.
Or no, Trump was July 13th. Mine was I don't remember. I don't remember who it was. Me, my brother, my dad, and my mom all have birthdays that coincide with either assassinations or attempted assassinations.
You're a CIA experiment.
Whoever was James Garfield.
Oh, okay.
James Garfield. That's who it was. And then Trump was the 13th, which was when my mom was born. And then I don't remember whose it was for my dad's or my brother's. I think one of them was JFK.
You and your entire family.
Yep.
Are CIA experiments.
Probably true.
Burnt Oil said, I want to praise at No434. I've seen him become a better and stronger man every day. Something says Mary would be quite inspired by if she would read the chats sometimes, LOL. I read the super chats, but I don't actively have the chat open during our streams because it would distract me.
You have a spreadsheet, correct?
Yeah, that's where I see the super chats. Shane H. Wilder said she's over yelling, "The power of Christ compels you to the IRS."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not how that works, Nala.
I don't think that that's going to work.
I hope she doesn't go to jail. Corey Anderson said, "No one ever said that to Elizabeth Banks. She is a liar. However, Cocaine Bear was an amazing movie."
It was an amazing movie.
She peaked.
Just one of these times, I want them to catch it on camera, where like the teacher's like, you could never be you could never write your own book. You're stupid.
You're never gonna be a female director.
Like
you're nothing.
Like actually, you know what? If I was a college professor, I would make it my mission to inspire one person a year by telling them they're gonna fail at everything.
Yeah. Every teacher I ever had said, "Mary, you're never gonna be a podcaster. Don't even try. If you try, you will fail. You're nothing. You're trash." That's what they all told me. But look at me now. I'm a podcaster. Robert Delara said, "Can someone ask Catherine Bigelow if Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves took her direction? I bet Gary Busey did."
Yes.
Oh, I think you read that one earlier.
From Point Break. And then there was that point last week, or like a couple weeks ago, when I accidentally said Kevin Spacey instead of Patrick Swayze, and I'm still it's my head hits the pillow and I think about it still.
Shane H. Wilder said, "So what was the Elizabeth Banks story about? Mary was talking and I tuned it out because I don't listen to women. LOL."
Valid.
Oh, why do I even try? Corey Anderson said, "Last time I checked, men are professionals and can work for female bosses. This complaint sounds like the feminist version of the SPLC. They invent misogyny just so they can complain about it." I mean, I don't think it's necessarily untrue that men are more likely to respect like other men's direction and advice. Like, I'm willing to believe that it goes both ways, you know, like women are more able to take direction and advice from other women and likewise for men. So maybe she was framing somebody's advice for her in a way that sounded like they were like discouraging her from being a director, but actually all they meant was to forewarn her that it is difficult to direct people, period, and men tend to respect other men's authority more. And that is true.
I mean, but the thing is, within the industry, it feels like the actor should be putting that aside and saying, like, my job is to give the performance that the director I'm working for is requiring me to give, and the gender shouldn't theoretically play a role in that at all. It should be about, in fact, if they want to have a certain level of, like, pride and professionalism, it shouldn't be about what they think is right for the scene. I mean, I'm, like, again, I'm the one here who kind of steelmans the actor's position most of the time. I dislike when people say they're just playing pretend. Like, but what I imagine, if you're an actor on set, it's not about you feeling like you understand the script better than the director. It's the director is trying to pull this performance out of me. My job is to give them the best performance they are asking for.
Right. And that's all in the world of shoulds and shouldn'ts, and maybe the reality proves that, like, our brains are just wired a certain way, and men, but maybe also like everybody has a more natural ability to respect male authority.
And like I was saying earlier, maybe the male actor was like, look, like, did I do that right? And she's really angry, and she's like, look, it was fine, okay? I'm not mad. And he's like, look, I can redo the scene again if you need me to. And she's like, no, it's fine. I said it's fine. We'll move on.
Men probably are better directors on average.
Well, I mean, look, from everyone that I've talked to about what being a director actually means when we're talking about the big budget studio level is that you have to be a bit dictatorial because a lot of money is riding on someone creating a vision. and it's his job to shepherd that forward from the writers who create it and put it on the page. It's the director's job to pull that performance out of the actor and bring it to life, and that seems like something that a lot of times too much collaboration is oftentimes a bad thing. You can write your way into more you can actually create more problems by giving too much leeway and having too much collaboration.
Right. The requirements of a movie director more easily mesh with the style in which men already excel at work.
But I'll even push back on my own perspective there, which is like, I remember people talking about when, and I think I've given this example before, when the show Justified was being made, Graham Yost? Is that his name? The creator of that show, he gave a lot of leeway to the actors to ad-lib and kind of make scenes their own. And that might seem contrary to a lot of other people's perspective, which is like, you say the word, and I've heard this being said in like, a lot of actors will talk about this when you do behind the scenes commentary things, right? Like some directors, especially on TV, will say, we want the words on the page. Other directors will allow for more leeway, more takes. It's kind of, it feels like that's where the trope of like, I want one more take for me, because the actor wants to give it like another inflection or in a different way that perhaps the creatives didn't want to see. But oftentimes you'll see something where an actor will make a mistake or say something a different way, and the director will get excited and be like, no, that's good, let's go with that. Again, it is collaboration, so it feels like gender shouldn't even play into it, because there's so much in play beforehand that would, for a lack of going the liberal route of saying like unconscious bias.
But the stereotype that men are more individualistic and I guess just like they have a more like independent, like creative vision, like that's probably true, and female directors
they
don't
want to
care as much about
collaborate.
getting the sole credit. So I that's why I say, like, I bet men are just better at directing, and that's fine.
We've got a 20 here from is it Henry Oria? 888 says, hey guys, I just watched The Housemaid and really enjoyed it. Amanda Seyfried truly nailed it. Do you guys think that she can win an award for her performance? It was the first time I watched Sydney Sweeney 2. Thoughts, guys? Well, you watched the movie. You liked it too.
Yeah, I did watch it, and Amanda Seyfried is amazing at playing crazy.
Mm-hmm.
She's, easily by far the standout performance in that entire movie.
Yeah, Sydney Sweeney actually seems to best embody somebody who will work well acting next to somebody who's actually really good.
It was really hard to watch her in scenes that, it only makes sense for her character to feel intense distress and fear, and she's just blank for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was not landing. Corey Anderson said Mary will be a miniature wife because she is tiny. I guess so, yeah. Robert Delara said the next time Elizabeth Banks will get another shot at being a director is if they do a movie called Heroin Panda. It can be the second movie in the Cocaine Bear trilogy.
Well, they didn't, but somebody made something called Cocaine Shark on like a shoestring budget. That's, yeah.
Well, there was another one for a raccoon, though. What was that one? Was it Meth Raccoon?
But wait, wasn't there actually a story this week about fish like are ingesting cocaine because it's getting dumped in the ocean when when the cartels have to like cut bait with like actual shipments because they don't want to get caught, and then the fish are getting high?
I don't even remember what the backstory was for how the bear in Cocaine Bear got the cocaine. Like, all of that just stopped mattering at a certain point, and I was just like,
yeah,
the bear's on cocaine. Fuck yeah.
Like, you don't want heroin animal because it's just going to be, docile. Right.
Like,
maybe unless you're going to turn it into some weird, like, Requiem for a Dream.
Oh, God. No,
animal edition.
No.
Don't do that.
Hate that. Pleggy said, honey, we shrunk the patriarchy, and everyone clapped. Yeah, that was basically what I got from it. And Mr. Joker said, I'm going to direct a movie where Mary's 600 feet tall, and it's about how she finally feels seen. Some city destroying will occur. I mean, that would be really fun. I would love to step on a building. Pop Culture Junkie said TMZ OF stories help Nielsen minute by minute ratings. First block teases of OF stories keep viewers through entire show that ends with spicy OF story. Well, that makes sense.
I love that there's evil geniuses whose job it is to decide where in the show to put the OF story so that they can maximize engagement.
Good for TMZ for adapting to the new media landscape, because a lot of people didn't make it. Shane H. Wilder said doesn't agree with the institution of marriage, but agrees with the institution of money. That tracks. Yeah, and she also stressed in her engagement announcement that she was like my situation is like a good situation, and you just have to believe me. And maybe
but your situation is not, which is why you shouldn't get married.
She said to her followers, she was like, maybe you think I'm a dumb bitch, so just unfollow. And you know, like I'm tough, and she wouldn't stop calling herself a bitch. She was like, I'm a tough bitch, and if he hurts me, if I get hurt, if I get my heart broken, like I've been through worse because I'm a tough bitch.
Plus,
and
she's gonna take half his money.
Ugh, like the whole thing was just so distasteful. Corey Anderson said, a woman admits she was wrong. LOL, you're funny, Mary. I mean, it's more like in her situation, if she does that, her entire media brand collapses because that's the basis of her podcast. It's the basis of her following on every platform, her subscriptions. So yeah, I don't know where you even go from there other than just posting about your designer outfits and the next hotel you're staying in. Boston said $5 for my favorite non-political show, Mary You Still Rock, Brett and Olivia, due to have a good weekend. Love your show. That doesn't exist, Ghost Girl. Thank you. I appreciate that.
There you
go. Shane H. Wilder said, a Substack makes one a public intellectual. Man, they really screwed up when they gave me one then. Well, it's just that he works for like think tanks. He's invited to speak at academic institutions. And, you know, he's of the podcast commentariat. And he is too good to work at Panda Express. But, you know, you struggling Gen Z man who is not on a path toward ever owning a home for your entire life, you become the assistant manager at Panda Express in some middle of nowhere town, and that's good enough for you, but not for me and my kids. We're going to be living in a city, going to Ivy League schools and palling around with people in our social strata. You stay where you belong. Like, that's how people, whether or not that's a fair read of him in particular, that's how people interpreted it. And it's not entirely unfair, because what are the elites supposed to do other than gatekeep the elite institutions?
So is the idea here then, I guess it's just a virtue of like, the side of the aisle he's on, but is he supposed to be like, I encourage you to go into massive debt and go to a 4-year college and then basically roll the dice that you will find a high enough paying job to both pay off that debt and then someday own a home? That's not always going to be like that's not a selling point to anybody.
Look, people are right to feel patronized when they're given such woefully detached from reality bad advice as you will be able to afford a down payment on a home from being an assistant manager at Panda Express.
Okay, I didn't, like, if he said that, then yeah, but like
that's literally like he was being so for real when he said that, and it's just
so then
you don't know what you're talking about.
So what would be the best thing for him to write then, if he's trying to inspire people into the next generation? Maybe the point is then that the middle ground here is like, so if the bad advice is the go get a job as a middle manager at Panda Express, and the other bad advice is like, if you go to college, you're going to get a great job, because that's what they told my whole generation. Go to college, you're going to get a great job, and you're going to be fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. Because people criticize that advice too, because that's the advice that was given to my whole generation. Just go to college and you'll get a great job and you'll pay it off. Maybe, I guess, conservatives found that the middle of the road advice is to tell them to go to trade school, which is not bad advice, especially if you're already good with your hands and you want to work in such an environment.
Look, of course there's no one size fits all advice for everyone to be successful in the exact same way with the exact same steps. And people excel at different things. They enjoy different things. They want different things out of life. That all is true. It's just that, his step-by-step advice for young men is incredibly patronizing, detached from the circumstances that they're actually facing. And it also comes off the same way when, guys in, maybe their late 30s, 40s, and 50s who got married pre-social media, pre-dating app, give dating advice to younger guys, and they do not understand what it's like out there, but they pretend to. And there's nothing compassionate about giving people false reasons for hope, or condescending to them. Like, that's not that's not helping anybody. So you can just admit that, like, you had certain advantages that they did not have. Like, for like someone like Tucker Carlson, for instance, he married his high school sweetheart, who is lucky enough to say that. That is something that you just have to recognize as a totally unearned blessing in your life, and don't try to advise anybody in the same direction that you took, because you have to realize that you didn't earn all of the good things that you have and enjoy. And that's kind of an ego check, Like, a lot of people who are wealthy don't understand how much of their success actually wasn't earned. And that's not to say they shouldn't have it. It's just to say, recognize that there are circumstances like luck, connections, family, God's grace that play into where your life ends up in the long run. And it's not all because of you and how much of a genius you are.
I guess the difference here is that these are people who are expected to have opinions and share advice. It's literally built into their job description. So there's no way to do that without a massive preface before literally everything they say that isn't really going to hit at the point of it, because that will take up too much time. Now, would that be a good thing and more honest? Sure. But that's just not, it's like when Warren Buffett gives financial advice, okay? Like, you can give good advice, but then you're still going to have to preface by saying, like, look, things were very different when I first found, hit it big, blah, 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 blah. So then it becomes a critique of the entire process of giving advice at all.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true.
It's Kim Kardashian. Work, bitch. People don't. What was her quote? Where she's like,
nobody these days wants to work.
Like, so conservatives love that because, like, even if it's ridiculous coming from Kim Kardashian, it's not bad advice. Going and working hard is never bad advice, even if it's absurd coming from somebody like a Kim Kardashian who, as we know, to run an empire like that does have to work hard, but has built an image off of literally being the antithesis of that. It's like how much work went into being Paris Hilton. A lot of work went into looking like you don't work at all. So
yeah, that's fair. Brian Bledsoe said, sounds like how Glenn Powell promoted How to Make a Killing to be about capitalism, but by watching the movie, it was about the family and continuing their toxic cycle within.
Yep. That's what people said. But that was one of Glenn Powell's more glaring missteps.
Cold Leftover said, love the matching gray shirts. Fashion icons slay.
I was like,
we are matchy.
It's like, I don't know about all this.
It's not the first time that we have accidentally matched.
Well, it's because we usually both wear black, or at least I wore black a lot more before this past year.
Brian Bledsoe said, looks like that guy saw all that man-hating content and took it as a challenge. What guy?
Which guy?
The TikToker?
I don't know.
Shane H. Wilder said, Brett, if someone ran into a Catholic church shouting, "Where's Jesus?" I'd be like, "See the red candle? He's over there in the tabernacle, LOL." Yeah, like in that scenario, as long as he's not like threateningly charging me.
But they were. That's the point. If they came in and did the same thing, you too would be put off by it.
Of course. But, you know, I just don't feel... I'm just never going to feel bad for Scientologists. Okay? Jane H. Wilder said, "Run, jump, shout, play, laugh, sing, but for heaven's sake, do not sin." Yeah. Have as much fun as possible without sinning, and you're good to go. I keck therefore a meme said, "Cult for sure, but they'll face act those folks." Definitely a possibility, but according to him, he still hasn't been contacted by police or anything. Shane H. Wilder said, "I will say I hate the glasses. If I'm shooting in public, you'll see a camera, but I'm also mainly shooting skits and mini doc, not hidden camera-ish." Yeah, I considered getting a pair of smart glasses, but only so that I could get like someone else to wear them and record me with those glasses. I would never walk up to somebody unsuspecting and like use them for content. I find that very weird.
I was almost like offended when a dude at Walmart asked me if my glasses were like the Meta glasses, and I was like, no.
Did he think that you were recording him, or like?
No, we just walked by each other. Like I was probably looking down, and he like turned around and came back and asked, and I said no.
You should have just lied and
yes.
said, "Yeah, I'm recording you right now. This is being live streamed to 10,000 people. How do you
tell
feel?"
the world how you feel.
Shane H. Wilder said, "All this corn talk, not I want to listen. Oh, now I want to listen to corn." Yeah, I guess maybe we don't need to say corn to bypass YouTube algorithmic checks.
Force of habit now.
Yeah, it is kind of force of habit. Shane H. Wilder said, "Sharks are actually getting high on coke."
There you go.
Love that for them. Not actually. That sounds horrible. Mary for the Attack of the 50-Foot Woman remake? Look, I would do it. I'm like the TikToker. I'm like, look, I would be open to acting if the opportunity fell in my lap, but maybe it doesn't have as good of an ROI. Bro is literally like running through the Church of Scientology and then doing an interview with the Hollywood Reporter talking about his ROI. Like, Zoomers are scary. I don't understand this generation anymore. I think we're all caught up, by the way.
I think we got one more here at the very end. Let me double check here. Did you get the last one from Shane about the attack of the 50-foot woman?
Yes.
Okay. We got a couple more here from High Voltage 75 says, "I like lanes and the left toidle is for crime." And Greg Duvier says, "No crime in the life lane when there is a toidle." I think I read that correctly. All right, guys, before we go, would you all hit the like button on this video, please, and subscribe to the channel if you're new here and you've not subscribed here yet already, please, and thank you for hanging out for the whole live stream. We appreciate it. Where can they find you, Mary?
You guys can send me validation on Instagram, that is Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X, that is also Mary Archived, and help me get TikTok famous, that is also Mary Archived.
Perfect. If you guys want to follow me, I am on Instagram and on X at Brett Dasovic on both those platforms. PCC is live 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is, of course, noon Pacific. We are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you like to listen rather than just watch the show, you can also rate and review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, which is a great way to help the channel out. And if you want to follow us on social media, we are on Twix at PopCulture_show, Facebook at Pop Culture Crisis, Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Guys, we will be back with another episode on Monday. We will see you then. Bye. Everybody.